Following the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, the United States immediately jumped into war against Japan. On December 8, 1941, Roosevelt signed the Declaration of War against Japan, which was quickly passed by Congress. In order to be successful, the United States government knew that maintaining morale on the home front was vital. Only by effectively spreading public information throughout the country would they gain the financial and physical support needed to win the war. In 1942, the Office of Wartime was created by President Roosevelt. The OWI was a combination of several different federal and war agencies that worked together to release both information in regards to the war and propaganda. The OWI used various different things to do this, including radio broadcasts, newspapers, posters, photographs, and films. One main branch of the propaganda released was an effort to gain labor. Posters, films, and broadcasts pushed Americans to dedicate their time towards service jobs. There were countless ways in which the United States public could volunteer their time and energy to contribute to the war effort. The American Red Cross was an organization that recruited more than 100,000 nurses during World War II to work in military hospitals, both on the home front and overseas. In addition to personal aid, they delivered millions of package materials to soldiers overseas who had been imprisoned. World War II also marked the beginning of the Red Cross service of blood donating, which was collected to be used for American soldiers. The Junior Red Cross was organized in World War II as a way for young people to volunteer in the war effort. During World War II, they raised over $3 million in support for the war. The JRC also provided clothing, furniture, and other materials for overseas servicemen. Rallying this amount of physical aid was crucial during the period of World War II. Civilians were also able to volunteer by joining organizations such as the Civil Air Patrol or the Coast Guard Auxiliary. Those in the Air Patrol were guided by the Army Air Corps of the War Department and made contributions to the war by sinking enemy vessels, rescuing crash victims, and flying for over 500,000 hours. Whereas not every citizen had the time to join specific organizations, such as the Red Cross or the Air Patrol and Coast Guard, most Americans still found ways in which they could support the war effort. Since much of the food produced needed to go to feed soldiers in the military, Americans began to plant gardens both on public and private residences. These victory gardens helped reduce the cost of food and also prevent shortages. Rationing, or only buying a small amount, was put in place due to reduce the amount of items in short supply. Each American family received rationing books and tokens that allowed them to buy a limited amount of products such as sugar, meat, shoes, nylon, and gasoline. With all the saving and recycling, there was still a huge need for people to be physically producing war materials. With the loss of men available for work due to the draft, all Americans were called upon to work. Those to work in steel plants and mines were especially needed. Posters preached of the direct effect joining the workforce could have on the war. Whether it be through work in industries or volunteering, Americans on the home front dedicated their time and energy to the war. They felt and indeed were making a direct effect on the success of the Americans. Without supplies and money to fuel the military, it would have been extremely difficult for the American military and the Allies to be successful. The home front in America was an active, helpful, and an essential part of overseas success.
Rich and poor, we endure for the good old USA.